Well, 51 years ago, next month, we had our 50th class reunion. My kids went to school here. I lived in Quecreek Township all my life. I've been a coal miner for 40 years. I started when I was about 24 years old, and I quit when I was 65. I'm not sure what all you want to talk about here. The day we got trapped was no different than any other day. It was a normal work day. We went to work, and we were finishing up the section which we worked in. It's where we loaded the coal out of. And we had one more day in there, and we would have been done. About 8:35 in the evening, they yelled, "We hit water." So I didn't think it was a big deal. Sometimes you run into things like that. And we hit this water. We cut into 100 million gallons of water. Now that's a lot of water. The miner itself, the machine we use to cut the coal with, weighs 50 tons, 35 feet long, 12 feet wide. When the water broke through, it moved that machine 12 feet. That's a lot of force. It took everything behind us. The biggest thing we needed to do, there was 9 men on our crew. Well, there was 10 men. The 10th guy went to see Ozzy Osbourne. He always kidded me about Ozzy Osbourne. He wanted me to know if I wanted to go see Ozzy Osbourne. I said, Ozzy wasn't good when I seen Ozzy. I said, I don't think he got much better. And he would always laugh about that. He went to see Ozzy Osbourne, so there was 9 of us. So that night, 8 of us was on one side of the water, and one of the miner operator, the man that ran the machine, was on the other side of the water. Our main concern was to rescue him. We kind of have a rule when we go in the mine, with how many guys you have, that's how many guys you come out with. I mean, we just don't do it any other way. So we tried to rescue him for quite a while. We wasn't able to get it. The water was too fast. We couldn't get him. So we told him we was going to go outside and get help and come back. And that's when we really got into trouble. There was a dip in the mine. The mine's about 52 inches overall height, which is pretty nice height. That's not real bad. It's pretty good. But there was a dip in the mine itself where it dropped down to 39 inches, and we knew we had to get past that dip if we were going to get out. So it's about 10 o'clock. We started out to get help for our other miner. We got to the dip, and they flagged us off and said the water was too deep. We couldn't get out. So as we was coming down the belt line, the water was everywhere. So it like pushed us down through. It was pretty easy going down through, and we had to turn around and come back up through it. And that's where the trouble was, trying to get back up through that water, wanted to push you down. We had crawled up onto the belt. The belt is, we carry all the coal out on the belt, and so we crawled up on the belt and was able to get up to a little bit away from the water itself. We crossed over into what we call the return, tried to break the wall out to get out. And when we did that, the water was behind the wall, and that water came in on top of us too. So we didn't have much choice of anything. We went back up to see what was going on, to tell this guy we couldn't get help. By that time, he was probably taking the last steps of his life. He would have. We used what we call J-hooks to hang all our cables up. You can't run over nothing. He taped those on his hand, he taped his hard hat on his head, and he was going to walk out into that water and try to come across. He was going to hook on the roof bolts and try to pull himself across, which wouldn't have worked. The water would have swept him away. So then the next thing we did was try to rescue him. And that was pretty hard to do. We didn't know quite how to do it, what we were going to do. And we tried different things. And we have what we call in there a scoop. We haul in all kinds of supplies that we need to work with. It's kind of like a tractor, but it's pretty low. It has a big bucket on it. So we thought maybe we could edge that out into the water. He could jump in the bucket, and we could get him maybe. And then we did it that way. That's how we eventually did it. We just had to go real slow because the water was real fast. It could have swept it away, but it didn't. We were able to do that. And then when he came back, he looked at me, he said, "I'm glad to see you." I said, "I'm glad to see you too." He gave me a hug. He said, "Let's get out of here." I said, "We have good news and bad news." He said, "The good news is all 9 of us are together. The bad news is there's no way out." So then we kind of built some walls and things to try to keep the water from getting around us and holding it away from us. And we ran out of blocks and things like that. And finally, we came to one point where we had to do the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Write a farewell note to our families. That's really hard to do. We wrote our farewell notes to our families, taped them up in a bucket, put it where they could find them, and we went into where we thought we were going to stay and possibly drowned. And that was at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It took 15 hours to fill the mine up itself. That's how much water was there. And the water never quit running the whole time. So we wasn't sure how we was going to get out or what we were really going to do. So we barricaded ourselves in. And, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. The first thing they really did for us that really helped us is they drilled an air hole down to us, a 6-inch hole, because that water coming out of an old mine, which it came out of, brought like carbon monoxide with it, and it knocked our oxygen level way down. So we were kind of like a fish out of water. We had a gasp for every breath we had. And when they drilled that 6-inch hole, that was a lifesaver. Without that, we would have probably suffocated. So that was the first real good thing that happened to us. And like I said, then we barricaded, we went to wrote our farewell notes, and then we kind of barricaded ourselves in. Now I said I would never do that because that's the last hope. When you barricade yourself in, there's no way out. And a lot of times you have to wait till somebody comes, which we knew we were going to have to do. Probably Thursday evening, maybe about 5 o'clock or so, 6 o'clock, they started drilling the rescue hole itself. The rescue hole was 28 inches in diameter, and they drilled down 110 feet and the bit broke. So then they had trouble, so they went and got another bit and started drilling another hole, and that bit broke too. So they had to go get what they call an overshot. It hooks on the bit, and they can spin it and bring it up out. That was made in Punxsutawney by Star Iron Company. And they called up to them, and they said it would take possibly 3 or 4 days to make this. And they said, we don't have 3 or 4 days. Said, we got to have it now. And this guy shut his complete shop down. In a matter of 10 hours, they made the overshot, and it was set in a Quecreek. They had it on a crate. It was so hot, yet the crate was on fire. When they brought it down, they flew it down in a helicopter. How much time do we have? Oh, because I was going to say, if we're going to be on. So they brought that down, and they were able to hook onto the bit itself of the first hole, pull it out, and get another bit, and started the hole and was able to finish it. The rescue hole. That was Saturday evening. They had cut into us. They couldn't cut into us too quick because the water would have cut into us too quick. They would have drowned us. We stayed in an air pocket. It's like if you take a 2-liter bottle of soda and turn upside down, the bubble that pops up is kind of what they did. When they pressurized the mine, it forced the water away from us, and that gave us a dry place to stay. But we figured what we would do. We drowned probably at 1 o'clock because we didn't know what they were going to do for us. And that air pocket saved us. We marked the water when we went in and things like that to see where it was at. And we went out about Thursday night and checked it. And we wasn't sure what they were doing pumping or what they were going to try to do to save us. And the water went down a little bit. That was a big hope there, because once that water started to drop down, we knew they were pumping. But they had brought these pumps in from New Jersey. There was 4 of them. They pumped about 1,500 gallons a minute. And there was they sent a guy with them, and he maintained these pumps the whole time. And they were able to pump the water down to a level so it wouldn't drown us. And Saturday evening, they was from forcing the air down and made this huge whistle. And they figured we'd be deaf. It would ruin our ears. But we were okay. And they'd shut all that off, and you could hear people kind of like, you could hear things going on. And we had 2 lights that worked yet. We always have lights, and the lights worked about 8 to 10 hours. So we sat in the dark probably from Thursday till Saturday most of the time. We had 2 lights that worked yet Saturday night when they started to look for us, when we went to look for the rescue hole. So there was 2 guys went and looked for it. They came back and they found it. And they said, he said, would you like to go home today? I said, yeah. I said, I'd love to. He said, we found a rescue hole. By that time, we got down, we got everybody gathered up. There was some of them that was pretty bad shape. Our boss, his heart got out of rhythm. I thought he was going to die. But he was in worse shape of us all. We got down to the rescue hole, and then they had dropped the microphone down. I'll never forget that. It had a green glow ring on it. It was the weirdest thing in the whole world. And from all that water in the mine itself was foggy. And it had this guy on there yelling, hello, hello, hello. And the boss told this other guy, he said, answer the phone. Answer him. So he answered him, and he says, hello back. And the guy said, are you the trapped miners? I was scared. I thought, uh-oh, they don't even know who they have. I thought, we're not going to get out of here. And he talked to us a little bit, and he said to us, he said, are you sure we're all here? They said, we're all here, nobody's hurt, everybody's fine. And he kind of like broke down. He started to cry because they didn't think they would find us alive. So he told us how we were going to get out and what they were going to do. They dropped the cage down. It's 28 inches inside. Now, Randy Fogel was a big guy. I was a big guy too, but Randy Fogel weighed about 325 pounds. I weighed about 248 at the time. I looked at that cage and I thought, I don't know about this. So Fogel was in the worst shape of anybody, so we put him in there first. He was the biggest guy and he fit, and I thought once he fit, I knew that I was going to fit. But that's how we went. They told us it would take about an hour, but they had it down pretty good. It took about 6 minutes for it to come down and 6 minutes to go back up, which was probably the best 6 minutes of my life. They sent down to us blankets, water, candy bars, and things like that for us till they got ready to bring us out. And then we sent Randy Fogel was the guy who was in the worst shape of anybody. And so we sent him out. And then the youngest guy there, he had 2 kids. We sent him out next. And his father-in-law had heart trouble, so we sent him next. And I was the 4th guy out. They thought I had a heart attack too, but I didn't. It was just stress. So, and then you got to meet your family, which you didn't think you'd ever get to see again or do. That was the best thing, seeing your family again. I didn't think I'd ever get to do that. Just to be with them and everything like that was just pretty incredible. I kind of give you guys a quick version because I didn't know how much time we really had. So maybe you guys want to ask me stuff. I mean, I got a list of questions. Does anybody want to ask any personal questions? You can ask me anything you want to know. Come on, guys. Yes.
Do you have a specific person in charge?
Yes, but he was our face boss. His name was Randy Fogel, the guy I talked about. He was the guy that was in charge of the whole thing. I worked with him probably 20 years, or maybe a little better.
Why don't you guys stand up and introduce yourself before you ask your question? That way Mr. Younger knows who you are.
Somebody was over here.
How cold was the water?
We had like hypothermia. They thought we'd have. Our body temperatures when we came out, your body temperature normally is 98.6. Ours was down to like 97. So we were really cold, and what we did, we laid on top of each other. Whoever was the coldest, we laid on top of each other and tried to keep each other warm as much as we could because our clothes were totally soaked. I mean, we didn't have a dry stitch on us. Everything was totally soaked. And they life flighted us to the hospital in a helicopter. So. Yes.
Derek Pondrak. Whenever you first broke through the wall, was it dusty or did the water pull the dust out of the air?
Oh, the water just pushed everyone. When the water came through itself, you're talking about when it came in where we broke through where we were working, there was no dust. It was just force. The roar was so loud, as close as I am to you, you had to shout to each other. It was that was intent.
Haley Thomas. Did your body have to adjust to the life after you got up out of the mine?
No, not really. The only thing that happened to us mainly from being in the water all that time, your skin, you peeled like a sunburn. but it wasn't from a sunburn. It was from the water itself. Your skin all came from like my knees down to my feet and my elbows to my hands. It all peeled off. But that was about the only thing it did to us. Yes?
Tanner Huntsberger. Did time seem to pass slower than it actually did?
Yeah, it was pretty slow. When you were in a situation like that, it was pretty slow, but it went better than I thought it would, really. I mean, 4 days being stuck in there is a pretty long time. But it went better, a whole lot better than I thought it would. But it was slow, yes. I was supposed to go to a wedding. My nephew was getting married Saturday, and I thought I could make it. And we weren't able to. The wedding was at 4 o'clock, and I was able to keep track of time. My watch didn't get flooded out or anything. I mean, from the water, it kept on working. At 4 o'clock, I hoped he got married. And when he was with my family, when they come down to the emergency room and he was there, I said to him, I said, "You're supposed to be on your honeymoon, not here." He said, "I couldn't go till I seen you first." But yeah, it was slow, yes. Yes.
And how often do you guys sleep?
How much did we sleep? Some of them guys slept a lot. I didn't sleep hardly at all. I don't like water to begin with other than to drink and to shower with. And I was afraid I'd wake up and it'd be around my neck or something. I don't like water that well. Some of those guys slept really, really well. I couldn't do that. When I have a lot of pressure on me, I can't do that. I've seen somebody. Yes?
What supplies did you have? Like, did you stay any longer? Did you get any food or anything?
Well, I ate my lunch right before we broke through the water. So there was a guy had a bucket there, and when the water broke through, washed his bucket away. On Friday, the bucket floated back to us. It had a corned beef sandwich in it and a bottle of Pepsi. So we took a bite out of the sandwich, what was there, and we drank some of the Pepsi. But that's all we ate from Wednesday night till we got to the hospital. When I got to the hospital, I had 2 bowls of chicken noodle soup, and I don't like soup, but it was pretty good. It really was good, yes.
On the exam, and when you said you were awake, what did you do? Like, what did you do to entertain yourself?
A lot of times when we were awake, we talked about some of the things we were going to do when we got out, like spend more time with our family and things like that. You know, a lot of things that you're too busy to do a lot of times because you're working. And we tried to think of things we'd like to do and stuff like that, you know, with your family, and try to do a better job with your family, spending time with them. And we just talked about things we'd like to do when we got out, you know. Basically, it was the biggest concern. Yes?
What would you advise to audiences about safety on a job site or in general?
Pardon me?
What advice would you give to younger audiences about safety on a job site or in general?
Any advice to anyone else on a job site like that where they're potentially facing life-threatening situations?
Well, that's kind of hard to do because in the coal business, the best thing you can do, I mean, you go to school, they have annual training every year, and they teach you more about explosions and other accidents. They never taught us nothing about water. So everything about the water that we had, we learned on our own. Trial and error is the best way to explain it to you. The best thing you probably can do if you're ever in that situation is just try to relax, which is hard to do, and use common sense. You know, things that, you know, we took all the water we could get. We have water in there. We gathered up all the water we could take with us because water is more essential than food. There was an oxygen bottle there if we needed it from the oxygen and acetylene, and we figured if we had to use that, we could. And just some supplies in general, what we thought we would need to survive. But we had no idea. I mean, we didn't have a clue what we were doing. Not one clue, because we never dealt with water. We dealt with fires, explosions, roof falls are a big thing in there. You know, sometimes you get caught with roof falls and things like that. Just stuff like that in general. But water we never had done. We had no idea. Because somebody else had asked us that, and we said we had no idea what we were doing. We were winging it. Basically, is the best way to explain it to you. But the best way to do it is just, if anybody was ever in a situation, is just take your time and think about what you're doing. And I was very fortunate. The people I worked for, we knew each other all for a long time, but this is the first time we all worked together, and we had a lot of experience, and we had a very, very good boss, and that helped us greatly. And we all had input, and we all talked about what we were going to do, or what we thought we were going to do, what move we were going to do next. It wasn't one guy just saying, well, let's do this. We all talked about what we were going to do, because it all concerned all our lives. So that's basic. But the best thing to do is just think about it and try to make good decisions and be calm. But that's hard to do when you're in that situation. Trust me, it's very hard. Yes.
I'm Haley, Filter. How did having other miners around you affect the situation?
Well, it was a good thing to do, because the crew we worked with, we worked real well together with, and we knew each other real well, and we worked together, not separate. And that made staying alive and doing what we did a whole lot easier, because we all knew what we wanted to do, and we all had a little experience in mining coal, but like I said, no experience of what we were doing with water. None whatsoever. But working with an experienced bunch of guys was a big plus, yes.
John, I remember, as you know, I was one senior, one of the rescue personnel on the scene, but initially everybody was very optimistic that you guys were okay down there. And as time wore on, we still tried to be optimistic, but then reality also, became part of the play. And I recall at some point when they drilled the air duct down through, somebody knocked on the drill bit 9 times, correct?
We did. We tapped on it 9 times, yes.
Who was that actually, because it was like a sigh of joy whenever that rang out?
Well, I think it was probably Randy Fogel tapped on it, because we tapped on the roof bolt the whole time we was in there so they could locate us. But there was so much noise and everything, they never heard us. The roof bolt itself, the head was beat completely flat. I went back in there probably 6 months after we were trapped, right to where we stayed.
You actually went back?
Yeah, it was really weird when I went in there, because all the equipment and everything was gone, but we actually went up to where we stayed, and the roof bolt itself the head was beat completely flat. But to go in there and see all that again, it was really weird, because there was a lot of people knew I went there, and they said that I couldn't do it. They had to come in and get me, that I freaked out and everything like that, which wasn't true. No. But yeah, Randy Fogel and I went back in we were trapped in July. I think I went back in January. I wasn't back yet to work, but we just went to the rescue where we stayed just to look at it. I had to look at it one more time. Yeah. It was weird, though, believe me. Yes. You're going to have to speak louder. I'm old. I don't hear real well.
What were you thinking when the Chili mine collapsed?
The Chili mine, that was a completely different situation than us. They were in water. They were in a roof fall, basically, and they were where it was warm. It's a lot warmer down there than what it is for us, than where we were at. And they were a lot deeper. And everybody calls us, when something like that happens, a disaster like that, calls us and what to think. Well, I was concerned, yeah, about them guys, if they were going to get them and how they were going to get them too. But they were in the dry, which made it easier, and it was warmer. And I was able to drill a hole to them pretty quick and send them food and things like that. But anytime there's anybody that does that, you think about them, because you know kind of what they went through, what you went through, and what they're going through. You always, anytime there's any type of mining disaster, I mean, you think about it, you hope for the best, that everything goes well. Because a lot of times in the situations when there's a mining disaster, it doesn't go real well. We were very fortunate. There was 18 guys in that mine. Everybody got out alive, and nobody was hurt. So that was a huge, huge plus. Huge. So, yes.
Hi, I'm Kendra, and what is your favorite coal mine?
What's my favorite coal mining story? Oh, gee, I don't know. I think Quecreek, because it went from really, really bad to really, really good. It was a miracle, really, is what it was. We should not have survived what we did, but we did. And you can't say enough about that. I mean, God took good care of us. A lot of people don't believe that, but he did. He really did. And you can't say enough about it.
I know we shared going down to Steelers invited the miners to a training camp, and they were gracious enough to invite some of the rescue people as well. And I know that was one, what can I say, experience you got out of this ordeal. Why don't you tell them some of the other people that you met?
Oh, well, we got to meet George Bush, President of the United States. He came to Green Tree to meet us. We met all the Steelers, all the Pirates, all the Penguins, NASCAR people. We went to several NASCAR races. We got to meet Oprah Winfrey. She gave us a trip to Canada to go fishing, which was pretty neat. She gave us canoe and all kinds of fishing equipment and things like that. We met Travis Tripp, Stella Pardon, a lot of people like that. But mainly, the best thing I can say about most of this is the everyday people that I met. To meet somebody, a sports star or something like that, is really great. But I think to talk to everyday people, just guys and people that come to see you and to talk to you or see you. There was a lady from California. She was fairly old. She wrote me a letter and sent me $1. She said, I don't have a lot of money and I don't have a lot of anything, but I wanted to send you something. And she sent me $1. And I have boxes and boxes of letters and cards from people. We did a lot of things. We went to a lot of schools, did a lot of things for schools and churches and kids and stuff like that. We went to Three Rivers Stadium. They had 5,000 kids there come to see us, and we talked to them. But we did a lot of things with school guys, school kids, a lot of stuff that way. And that was really a good thing to do, is to talk to you guys and just to meet you and look at you and talk to you and see what you guys think about stuff. That was really good. But meeting famous people was pretty good. I think probably meeting the President of the United States probably was the best thing, one of the best highlights of what I got to do. I didn't think I'd ever meet the President of the United States, but I did. But like I said, just to see our family was good too. Yes?
Do you know a guy named Pugh?
Bob Pugh?
A guy named Pugh.
Yeah. Boogie Pugh? Yes, he was with us. Yes, I know him.
Daddy has a guy named Pugh from the mine.
He does? That's probably Boogie. That's what we called him. His right name's Bob. Anybody else? Yes.
It might be a little personal, but what was it like seeing the other miners after the accident and I was at Petrie boat?
To see them, we got to see them all the day we got out of the hospital. We all got together. They did a news conference, but it was really when we got to see each other. I mean, it was really, really good because we all knew what we went through and what we did to get to survive and things like that. And we've seen each other quite a bit, some of them, not quite as much as we used to, but it's still good to see them, and we still get together and have a good time just to join each other. Yeah. But yeah, to see them, they're like family, because we went through a lot together, and that means a lot. do I need to tell you? What else do I need to tell you? What didn't I tell you?
This was they hit most of our questions. Well, Mr. Unger, we've been reading a book called Trapped, which talked about the Chilean miner rescue, and
Yes.
that's part of the reason why the question came up. But whenever we did that, we did survival presentations, so they had to research a survival story. And so we actually had 2 of the kiddos before we found out that we were going to be able to get you to come in, who had chosen your story. So Katrina and Nate, can you guys put your hands up? Which I heard you might know.
I do know him. I do know him. I don't know you. I do know him, though.
So
But-
we thought that was pretty cool that they had picked your story to tell too. And he kind of focused on your experience specifically because he knew. But we wanted to tell you how much this meant to us, that you came in and talked to us. And, you know, Mr. Bunchick was really excited to be able to make that connection for us.
But I just did a thing for another student. He was doing a thing about coal mining too, and I did a thing for him too. But yeah, it's good. Like I said, it's good to talk to you guys, and just to hear what you think or hear what you have to say. But yeah.
Would you be okay with it if we all got a picture with you?
Yep.
With the whole group?
You can do anything you want. I'm fine.
Thank you so much.
I'm fine.
All right, guys, what do you guys think?
I'm the principal here at Conemaugh Township.
I know exactly who you are.
I don't have many things to give you from Conemaugh Township, but I do want to make sure that you have something to walk out of here with.
All right. Thank you
Okay.
very much. Yep.
Sounds good. Thank you for spending time with us. I
Oh, that's
greatly
fine.
appreciate it.
That is fine.